Witch versus Witch. Industrial Revolution. The Witch of Breath versus the Witch of Ash. The sky was a heavy leaden gray, as if it might collapse at any moment, and from above, instead of snow, black cinders of burnt remains drifted down without a sound. In the lower district, where the enormous steam machines called the city's heart ceaselessly spat out the screech of scraping iron, the air was so full of the smell of old metal and the smoke of burning coal that with every breath the inside of one's chest burned as if scorched. The Witch of Breath stood precariously atop a copper pipe jutting from the top of a building and looked down. Her chest was twice as broad and large as an ordinary person's. Between her ribs, artificial strands tougher than steel were intricately woven, an inevitable result of a body twisted from birth to compress the tiny air sacs within her lungs to the extreme. Each time she drew a deep breath, the silver-plated mechanical valves embedded in her chest quivered with a sharp metallic sound, and her voice was always transformed into a low resonance, mixed with a chill wind. The Witch of Ash chased her like a shadow through the unseen darkness. What flowed beneath her skin was not red blood. Instead of veins, extremely fine carbon tubes coiled around her whole body like a spiderweb, and organs like her liver and kidneys had long since ceased functioning, turned into great furnaces that burned everything she ate. Her body temperature was always hot enough to melt iron, and her blood was like sticky black tar. To the Witch of Ash, this smoke-filled city was both a vast tomb and the finest powder magazine. The metal dust and drifting cinders made by clashing machines touched the tips of her keen nerves, becoming eyes that told her who was where, and each time she flicked her fingers, they turned into embers on the verge of exploding. The Witch of Breath leapt lightly between the pipes, feeling the flow of the air. But into the current, which should have been clear, a sticky foreign substance began to intrude. Cinders settling soundlessly were devouring even the sound of certain areas, forming a heavy membrane. Rather than charging recklessly, the Witch of Ash was contaminating the very air the Witch of Breath breathed. The needle of the pressure gauge on the wall shook wildly, and the air pressure inside the factory rose abnormally. The Witch of Breath frowned at the suffocating weight pressing on her chest. The Witch of Ash was testing the final limit her enhanced lungs could endure. Every time she tried to inhale, fine particles wedged between her bronchi and made an unpleasant metallic sound. What the Witch of Ash aimed for was one thing only: to destroy the delicate chest machinery from the inside and cut off her breath. Their battle led to the deepest part of the factory, the blower room, where enormous blades spun to filter the city's smog. Enclosed on all sides by yellow brass walls, this place was a complex tangle of holes that sucked in outside air and passages that spat out the heat within. The Witch of Breath landed before the great pinwheel blades and surveyed her surroundings. With the air swirling here, it was the finest battleground for her, but at the same time a dangerous place where the powder the Witch of Ash scattered could spread in an instant. The Witch of Ash walked slowly out of the darkness. Each time she stepped, the iron plates of the floor glowed red-hot with a spine-chilling hiss. She crossed both arms and roughly scraped down her own skin. From the gaps in the wounds, instead of blood, red-hot volcanic ash-like particles poured out like a waterfall. That clean air you breathe is, in the end, nothing but the residue of something burned away. Her voice carried the agonized sound of splitting, burning firewood. As she stretched out her hand, the spilled ash rode the blower's gale and rained down on the Witch of Breath as thousands of sharp arrows.